Welcome to my channel HFY Universe. The alien princess collapsed to her knees the moment she saw the human. Tears streamed down her face. Thousands of royal guards reached for their weapons. The entire throne chamber froze. And then the princess whispered 4 words that shook an empire. "Mother, I found him." Silence. The human standing at the center of the hall blinked in confusion. His name was Ethan Cole. Cargo pilot. Drifter. Nobody. At least that was what he believed. Yet the young woman staring at him looked as if she had just found someone returned from the dead. The guards exchanged nervous glances. The royal advisors looked horrified. Even the towering alien generals standing beside the throne seemed unable to breathe. Ethan slowly raised both hands. "I think you have the wrong guy." The princess shook her head. "No." Her voice cracked. "We searched 30 years for you." The chamber exploded into whispers. 30 years. Impossible. Ethan was only 34. How could anyone have been searching for him for 30 years? Something wasn't right. And everyone in the room knew it. Especially Lord Veron, commander of the Imperial Fleet, the most powerful military leader in the Empire. His cold silver eyes narrowed. "This human is a cargo pilot." His voice echoed through the chamber. "A primitive species. No military record. No political value." He looked directly at the princess. "There is no possibility this is the individual Her Majesty seeks." The princess stood. Anger flashed across her face. "You weren't there." Veron frowned. "Neither were you." The words hit like a blade. For a moment her expression faltered. 'Cause he was right. She had not been born when it happened. Everything she knew came from stories. Stories her mother had repeated for decades. Stories about a mysterious human who had appeared from nowhere, saved the future queen, then vanished into the stars. Most believed it was a myth, a comforting fantasy, nothing more. But the princess had never doubted. Not once. And now that human stood before her. Alive, breathing, real. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Look, somebody should probably explain what's happening." No one answered. Instead, every eye turned toward the massive doors behind the throne. A low mechanical sound echoed through the palace. The doors began opening. Slowly. The room instantly fell silent. The queen had arrived. Golden light poured through the entrance. Royal guards dropped to one knee. Advisors bowed their heads. Even Lord Veron stepped aside. Queen Seraphina entered the chamber, the ruler of the most powerful civilization in known space. For 30 years she had governed hundreds of worlds. For 30 years she had searched the stars. And for 30 years she had never stopped asking the same question. Where is the human? Now she stood only meters away from him. Ethan expected authority, power, confidence. Instead he saw shock. Pure shock. The queen stopped walking. Her hands trembled. For several seconds she simply stared, like someone looking at a ghost. Then something extraordinary happened. The most powerful woman in the galaxy began to cry. Gasps filled the throne room. Nobody had ever seen this. Not once. Not in 30 years. The queen took a shaky breath. "It's really you." Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't understand why. But something about her voice felt familiar. Strangely familiar. As if he had heard it long ago. In a dream. The queen slowly approached. "Do you remember me?" Ethan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. A sudden headache exploded behind his eyes. Images flashed through his mind. Fire. Darkness. Storm of stars. Someone screaming. A young alien woman trapped inside a wrecked ship. Then the vision vanished. Ethan staggered backward. What was that? The queen's expression changed instantly. "Oh, real hope. You saw it." The room erupted into chaos. Veron stepped forward immediately. "This is dangerous." His hand moved toward the weapon at his side. "Your Majesty, we cannot allow unknown psychological manipulation." The queen ignored him. Her eyes never left Ethan. Tell me what you saw. Ethan swallowed hard. A ship. The Queen froze. Continue. A crash. The princess covered her mouth. Ethan's voice grew weaker. A woman trapped inside. The Queen's tears returned. 'Cause no one else knew. No one. The details had never been recorded. Never shared. Not even with her daughter. Yet somehow Ethan had seen them. Veron suddenly looked disturbed. For the first time. The certainty in his face disappeared. Because there was no logical explanation. When the Queen stepped closer. 30 years ago my transport was destroyed beyond the edge of known space. The chamber remained silent. I should have died. Her voice softened. But a human found me. Ethan's pulse quickened. Every word felt strangely familiar. He carried me through a radiation storm. The advisors exchanged confused looks. No species could survive such exposure. The Queen continued. He walked for 3 days without food. Several guards stared in disbelief. Impossible. He refused to leave me behind. Now even Veron looked unsettled. Because everyone knew the truth. No being could survive those conditions. Not even their strongest soldiers. Yet the Queen spoke with absolute certainty. The princess looked toward Ethan. Her voice barely a whisper. Humans are different. No one argued. Not anymore. But Ethan still didn't remember. And that frightened him more than anything. Because the visions were growing stronger. Another flash struck his mind. A glowing structure. Ancient. Massive. Hidden beneath black sand. Machines awakening. Something watching from the darkness. Waiting. For him. Ethan stumbled again. Blood trickled from his nose. The Queen caught him before he fell. The moment she touched him. Every light inside the palace died. Instantly. Darkness swallowed the throne room. Alarms screamed. Guards drew weapons. Panic spread through the chamber. Then a voice echoed from somewhere beneath the planet. Ancient. Mechanical. Terrifying. A voice that had been silent for thousands of years. Identity confirmed. The entire palace shook. Human guardian detected. Everyone froze. Including the Queen. Including Veron. Including Ethan. Then the voice delivered a message that turned every face pale. The final defense protocol has begun. And deep beneath the capital world, something enormous started to wake up. The throne room trembled. Massive cracks of blue energy raced across the palace floor. Royal guards stumbled. Advisors screamed. The lights flickered back to life for a single second, then died again. Far below the capital world, something ancient was awakening. Something that had slept longer than recorded history. Ethan's heart hammered inside his chest. The mechanical voice continued. Human guardian confirmed. Authorization sequence initiated. Awakening celestial defense network. Every screen throughout the palace suddenly activated. Not by command. Not by permission. By force. The displays filled with symbols no one recognized. Ancient star maps. Unknown coordinates. And one terrifying countdown. 9:59. 9:58. 9:57. The numbers continued falling. Panic spread instantly. Lord Veron stepped toward the nearest screen. What is that countdown? No answer came. Then another voice echoed. Not mechanical. Female. Ancient. Guardian absent for 30 years. Critical. Their empire controlled hundreds of systems. Millions of warships. No force in the galaxy could challenge them. Fear filled her eyes. You triggered it. Ethan stared at the countdown. I didn't do anything. But even as he spoke, another memory slammed into him. Pain exploded behind his eyes. Dark stars. Broken ships. A giant structure buried beneath a dead world. Then a woman's voice. Weak. Terrified. Please don't leave me. Ethan staggered. The Queen immediately caught his shoulder. Her eyes widened. You're remembering. He looked at her. Who am I? For the first time, uncertainty crossed the queen's face. That's what frightens me. The chamber fell silent. Then suddenly every screen changed. A new image appeared. An enormous black fleet. Thousands of warships. Floating beyond the edge of known space. The room erupted into shock. Several advisors nearly collapsed. The queen turned pale. Even Veyron looked terrified. 'Cause everyone recognized them. The Voidborn. The enemy that had haunted legends for centuries. Most believed they were extinct. But the image suggested otherwise. The fleet was real. And it was moving. Toward the Empire. One advisor whispered. Impossible. The ancient voice responded instantly. Impossible does not alter reality. The countdown continued. 12. 11. 10. Veyron stepped forward. How long until arrival? The answer came immediately. 72 hours. The entire throne room froze. 3 days. An invasion fleet capable of destroying civilizations would arrive in 3 days. The Empire had no time. No preparation. Nothing. And somehow this was connected to Ethan. The cargo pilot nobody had ever heard of. Veyron turned sharply. His silver eyes burned with suspicion. This human knows something. Ethan glared back. I know less than anyone here. Convenient. The accusation hung in the air. The princess immediately stepped between them. Enough. Veyron's jaw tightened. You trust him because your emotions control your judgment. The princess didn't move. He saved my mother. You don't know that. The room became dangerously quiet. Then the queen spoke. Actually, we do. Everyone turned toward her. She slowly approached the central display. With one gesture, she activated a hidden archive. A recording appeared. Ancient footage. Image. Corrupted. 30 years old. The image showed a burning crash site beneath a blood-red sky. Gasps echoed across the room. There she was. A much younger Queen Seraphina. Injured. Bleeding. Barely conscious. The recording shook violently. Then another figure entered the frame. Human. The room froze. 'Cause it was Ethan. Exactly Ethan. Not older. Not younger. The same face. The same eyes. The same man. Shock exploded through the chamber. Several guards backed away. One advisor dropped to his knees. The princess covered her mouth. Veyron stared in disbelief. That's impossible. The recording continued. The human lifted the injured queen onto his shoulders, then walked directly into a radiation storm. The footage ended. Silence. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because everyone understood what they had just seen. Humans weren't supposed to survive that. Nothing was. Yet Ethan had carried the future queen through hell itself. The princess whispered. Humans are different. This time the words felt heavier. Real. Undeniable. Even Veyron had no argument. But Ethan felt no triumph. Only confusion. Because he still couldn't remember. The recording should have unlocked everything. Yet most of his memories remained hidden. Locked away behind an invisible wall. Then suddenly every screen turned red. A new alert appeared. Warning. Unauthorized activation detected. The ancient voice changed. Its calm tone vanished. For the first time it sounded afraid. Unknown signal detected. The countdown stopped. Everyone stared. Stopped. That wasn't supposed to happen. Then a second countdown appeared. This one much shorter. 4:59. 4:58. 4:57. Veyron immediately drew his weapon. What does that mean? No answer. The palace shook again. Harder this time. Far harder. Dust rained from the ceiling. Massive alarms erupted throughout the city. The queen's eyes widened. Report. A terrified officer appeared on a nearby display. His face was pale. Your Majesty. What happened? The officer struggled to speak. Something just emerged beneath the capital. The room froze. Show me. The display changed. Instantly. Everyone stared in horror. An enormous structure was rising from beneath the planet's surface. Kilometers wide, ancient, black, covered in glowing symbols. The city around it looked microscopic. The thing continued rising. Higher, higher, higher. Then its central eye opened. A giant blue light illuminated the entire world. The ancient voice spoke again. Only this time it wasn't addressing the Empire. It was addressing Ethan. Guardian, your absence has endangered all life. Ethan's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? The eye focused directly on him. Cross impossible distances. As if it could see through stone. Through walls. Through reality itself. Then it revealed the truth. The truth Queen Seraphina had spent 30 years searching for. The truth Ethan himself had forgotten. The truth that would change the galaxy forever. You are not the one who saved the Queen. The room went silent. Every face turned toward Ethan. The machine's next words felt like a bomb detonating inside the throne room. You are the one who sealed the extinction of the Voidborn. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, a billion enemy ships suddenly changed course, heading directly toward Ethan. The throne chamber shook. Not from an explosion. Not from an attack. From the fleet. Every ancient warship hidden beneath the mountains had awakened at the exact same moment. And every single one was now pointing its weapons toward the stars. Toward something approaching. Something ancient. Something terrifying. Silence spread across the chamber. Then the holographic display above the throne flickered. A massive shadow appeared. It was larger than any ship ever recorded. Larger than entire cities. Larger than royal carriers. The image distorted as sensors struggled to identify it. Queen Elira stared. Her face turned pale. No. Eric looked at her. What is it? The Queen's voice trembled. The Devourers. The room froze. Even the guards stopped breathing. Princess Liara looked confused. The Devourers are extinct. The Queen slowly shook her head. No. The giant shadow continued moving through space. Closer. 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 The ancient fleet responded instantly. Thousands of warships shifted formation. Weapons powered up. Energy levels climbed. Eric noticed something strange. The ships weren't preparing to attack. They were preparing to defend. As if they were terrified. A cold feeling crawled down his spine. What exactly are we dealing with? The Queen looked toward the stars. 30,000 years ago, before our empire existed, an ancient species consumed entire civilizations. The hologram changed. Burning planets appeared. Dead worlds. Destroyed fleets. Billions gone. They erased hundreds of star nations. Eric stared. And nobody stopped them. The Queen's eyes moved toward him. One civilization did. The room became silent. The humans. Eric felt his heartbeat stop. What? The Queen nodded slowly. The first humans. Every eye in the chamber turned toward him. The ancient archives describe warriors who crossed impossible distances. The images changed again. Human ships. Massive. Ancient. Powerful. Unlike anything in modern records. They fought the Devourers for centuries. Eric's stomach tightened. Then what happened? The Queen's voice became quiet. They vanished. The display showed one final image. A dying star. Massive gateway. And human vessels disappearing into darkness. No survivors. No records. No trace. Liara looked toward Eric. But the beacon recognized him. The Queen nodded. Exactly. A terrible realization spread through the room. If the beacon came from those ancient humans, then Eric was connected somehow. The question was how. Suddenly alarms screamed. Every screen turned red. Warning. Unknown vessels detected. Distance. 5 minutes. The Devourers had arrived. Panic erupted. Officers rushed across the chamber. Military commanders shouted orders. The Empire's fleets moved into defensive positions. But Eric couldn't move. Because the beacon in his chest was burning. The pain returned. Stronger than before. Much stronger. He dropped to one knee. Liara rushed forward. Eric! The chamber disappeared. Darkness swallowed him. Then, he saw memories. Not his memories. Someone else's. A battlefield. Ancient Earth. Cities burning. Human soldiers standing against impossible monsters. A voice echoed through the darkness. Familiar voice. Project Guardian must survive. Another voice answered. The child is ready. Eric felt terror. Child. What child? The memory shifted. Scientists surrounded a glowing chamber. Inside stood a young boy. No older than 10. The scientists looked desperate. One woman stepped forward. Tears filled her eyes. If this fails, humanity ends. The boy nodded. I understand. The chamber activated. Light exploded. The memory shattered. Eric gasped and opened his eyes. The throne chamber returned. Everyone was staring at him. What happened? Liara asked. Eric struggled to breathe. I saw them. The queen stepped closer. The ancient humans. He nodded. Fear filled his voice. They knew the devourers would return. Silence. The queen's face hardened. What else? Eric hesitated. Because the truth sounded impossible. I think. The beacon pulsed. I think they built me. The chamber exploded with disbelief. Guards exchanged shocked looks. Officers whispered. Liara stared at him. What do you mean? Eric's hands trembled. I don't know. His voice cracked. But those memories weren't random. The queen looked horrified. You believe you're connected to Project Guardian? Eric nodded slowly. The queen took a step back. Because she knew exactly what that meant. The ancient prophecy. The hidden records. The forbidden texts. A weapon. Not a machine. Not a fleet. Human. Suddenly every ancient warship in orbit transmitted a signal. Once, the entire palace shook. The holographic display transformed. Words appeared. Ancient human language. Then translated automatically. Project Guardian identified. Final defense protocol activated. All command authority transferred. New Supreme Commander confirmed. The image changed. A single name appeared. Eric Vance. The throne chamber fell silent. Thousands of years of royal authority vanished in a second. The ancient fleet had chosen him. Not the queen. Not the empire. And before anyone could react, the stars outside exploded with light. The first devourer ship entered orbit. Then another. Then another. Hundreds appeared. Then thousands. An endless swarm. Dark enough to block entire constellations. The ancient fleet opened fire. The final war for the galaxy had begun. And deep inside the enemy armada, something ancient opened its eyes. Something that remembered humanity. Something that had been waiting 30,000 years for one human to return. And it whispered a single word. Guardian. To be continued. The stars were on fire. Thousands of ancient human warships unleashed torrents of energy across the darkness. Entire fleets vanished in blinding explosions. But the devourers kept coming. Wave after wave. Endless. Relentless. The battle spread across the entire system. Queen Lyra stood frozen before the command display. She had witnessed wars. Rebellions. Planetary invasions. Nothing compared to this. Because this wasn't a war for territory. This was a war for existence. And at the center of it stood one human. Eric Vance. The cargo pilot who wasn't supposed to matter. The man the ancient fleet had called Guardian. Alarms echoed through the throne chamber. Reports flooded every screen. Sector 7 collapsing. Enemy breakthrough detected. Defense line failing. Military commanders shouted orders. Yet Eric barely heard them. The beacon inside his chest burned brighter with every second. More memories flooded his mind. Ancient memories. Human memories. The truth. 30,000 years ago, humanity had discovered the Devourers. A species unlike any other. They didn't conquer. They consumed. Civilizations. Knowledge. History. Entire cultures erased forever. One by one galaxies had fallen. Until humanity stood alone. The last civilization refusing to surrender. Eric staggered as another vision struck. Ancient Earth. Council chamber. Scientists arguing. Admirals shouting. A desperate plan. Project Guardian. Humanity's final gamble. Not a weapon. Not a fleet. Person. Someone who would survive. Someone who would awaken when the Devourers returned. Someone carrying humanity's final command codes. Someone carrying hope. Eric opened his eyes. And finally understood. He wasn't created. He wasn't a machine. He was human. But generations ago his ancestors had volunteered for something impossible. A hidden bloodline. Protected through thousands of years. Waiting. For this exact moment. The Queen saw understanding appear in his eyes. You remember. Eric nodded slowly. Everything. Silence spread through the room. Princess Liara stepped closer. Fear filled her voice. What do we do now? Eric looked toward the stars. Toward the impossible battle raging above them. Then he smiled. A very human smile. The kind that appeared when things were at their worst. We do what humans always do. The Queen frowned. And what's that? Eric's eyes hardened. We refuse to quit. Orbit was collapsing. The ancient fleet was losing. For every Devourer ship destroyed, 10 more arrived. The swarm stretched across space like a living nightmare. Even the ancient defenses couldn't stop them forever. Then a new signal appeared. The source came from the center of the enemy armada. A single vessel. Far larger than the others. Command ship. The Devourer King. The being that had directed the destruction of countless civilizations. A voice echoed across every communication channel. Ancient. Terrifying. Humanity. The entire galaxy heard it. We meet again. Fear spread through every fleet. Every world. Every species. The Devourer King continued. You delayed extinction. You delayed perfection. You delayed destiny. Its colossal eyes appeared across every screen. But this time there will be no escape. The enemy fleet surged forward. Billions of weapons powered up. The final attack had begun. Then Eric stepped toward the central command platform. The beacon in his chest erupted with light. Golden energy filled the chamber. The ancient fleet responded instantly. Every ship. Every weapon. Every system. Waiting. Listening. For him. The Queen stared in disbelief. What are you doing? Eric smiled sadly. Finishing what humanity started. Princess Liara's face turned pale. No. She already knew. Humans were different. Aliens had learned that lesson again and again. Humans would sacrifice themselves for strangers. For hope. For tomorrow. Even when nobody asked them to. Especially then. The beacon revealed one final secret. Hidden protocol. One last weapon. A weapon requiring a human command. A weapon requiring a human life. Eric closed his eyes. And activated it. Instantly every ancient warship changed formation. The entire fleet formed a gigantic circle around the system. Energy levels skyrocketed. Stars themselves seemed to dim. The Devourer King finally sounded afraid. Impossible. Eric opened a channel to the entire galaxy. His voice echoed across millions of worlds. If you're hearing this. He paused. Looking at Liara. Looking at the Queen. Looking at the people who had become his family. Then remember something. The battle slowed. Everyone listened. Humans. Aliens. Soldiers. Children. Entire civilizations. Eric smiled. We were never the strongest species. The Queen's eyes filled with tears. We were never the smartest. The ancient fleet glowed brighter. We were never the biggest empire. The Devourers desperately tried to retreat. Too late. Far too late. Eric's voice became stronger. But when someone needs help. A tear rolled down Liara's cheek. Humans show up. The beacon exploded with light. The ancient fleet unleashed its final command. A wave of energy surged across the battlefield. Across the system. Across the stars. The Devourer armada vanished. Not destroyed. Erased. Every ship. Every weapon. Every trace. The Devourer King screamed once. Then disappeared forever. Silence followed. The war was over. The galaxy had survived. For several terrible seconds nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the command screens activated. A message appeared. Guardian status. Active. The room froze. Active. The Queen slowly turned. Eric was still standing there. Alive. Confused. Then he laughed. So much for the dramatic sacrifice. For a moment nobody reacted. Then Liara ran forward and hugged him. The Queen smiled through tears. Even the soldiers laughed. Because humanity had done the impossible. Again. Months later peace returned. Worlds rebuilt. Empires united. The ancient fleet remained in orbit as silent guardians. And everywhere across the galaxy people told the same story. Not about a king. Not about a queen. Not about an empire. About a human cargo pilot. A man who stood against extinction itself. A man who reminded the galaxy why humans were different. Years later, a monument was built on the capital world. At its center were simple words. Words every child learned. Words every civilization remembered. A human answered. And far beyond the stars, hidden within the ancient fleet, one final message remained engraved forever. Humanity's greatest strength was never its technology. It was its heart. Then,